Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of M.V.P, aka Metnick and Vinci Productions NBA podcast. I am here with, to my right, my co-host Zach Vinci. Say hello.
What's up, everyone?
And so, thank you once again to I-95 Sports Network for having us. Thank you to Bobby Blackjack for doing this. You can find me on my Facebook account, which is Hunter Metnick, and YouTube Hunter Metnick, to watch. And if you are watching right now, comment your thoughts. We'll be talking about a lot of current day NBA talk today because there's been some crazy stuff going on recently in the league. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun podcast. And as I said, make some comments, and just tag along with us. We're gonna try and keep this one, a little not as long. The past couple ones throughout our series of top 10 at each position, then top 15 at the end. They'd go for a good 2.5 hours. So we'll keep this one a little shorter for everyone. We won't bore you out too bad.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really it. Let's get right into talking about our first topic, which is James Harden. Getting the blockbuster trade that happened. James Harden came out after the big loss to the Lakers and just pretty much said as a team they can't compete for a championship, and seemed he didn't specifically call anyone out, but we kind of know what he was talking about, which was John Wall and Boogie. Just kind of throwing shots at them, saying that that team's not good enough to compete. And then next thing you know, the next day it turns around and he gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets for Karis LeVert and 8 first-round picks roughly in a trade involving with the Nets, Houston, the Indiana Pacers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, where then the Indiana Pacers acquired Karis LeVert from Houston for Victor Oladipo. And somehow Jarrett Allen, the piece that everyone thought that this trade would be really revolving around with Karis LeVert, ended up in the Cleveland Cavaliers, and now they have 4 good starting caliber centers. So first, let's get our thoughts on your thoughts on James Harden and what you think he's going to bring to Brooklyn, and how you think the chemistry-wise is going to fit.
First off, Cavaliers going to be running that lineup of Kevin Love, Drummond, Jarrett Allen, JaVale McGee. It's going to be a squad right there.
Oh yeah, that starting 5 is going to be filthy.
It's incredible, the Harden thing. I was just chilling at work yesterday, and this kid calls me and tells me, and I'm just like, what the hell happened? And it's incredible.
Yeah,
I didn't ever expect it to happen. Like, I know there were all the rumors flying around, but I'm like, there's no way that the Nets are going to have the assets available to trade for James Harden. And they pulled it off. They traded basically their entire future. The next time the Nets have a first round pick, which will be in 2028, Durant, God, Harden, and Kyrie will all be 37 or older.
Oh boy.
Well, no, Kyrie will be just below, but Durant and Harden
they're going to be at the end of their prime.
To the end of their prime, they'll be end of their career,
yeah.
They'll be retiring at that point. Kyrie's probably going to retire in the next couple of years anyways. So
if not this year.
If not the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Fit-wise, I don't know. I'm going to have to watch them because I honestly couldn't tell you how this is going to work out. on paper, you have maybe the 3 best closers in the game of basketball today, all on the same team. If there's a guy you want taking the last shot down 2 and 30 seconds left, those 3 are probably in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Great ISO players, great offensive guys. I know there's a lot of question with lack of individual defense, which that doesn't really concern me. Just because I think team defense is 10 times more important than individual defense. As we saw, the Miami Heat last year played incredible team defense, even though
really
a couple of those key guys
defenders.
Weren't great defenders, like Goran Dragic, Duncan Robinson. I don't mean to just call out the white guys, but
Tyler Hero. Might as well just go all out for it.
If they can figure out how to play defense as a unit, if Steve Nash can get them going, this team is near unbeatable. It just all depends on fit. I think they're clear favorites in the East at this point, very clear favorites. It's a big time disappointment if they don't make it out of the East. But I wouldn't call them championship or bust yet. I give them. They have a good 3-4 year window. I think. Okay, 3 years. I would say 3 year window with this being the first year.
Yeah, especially if they traded their future, and we said this about the trading for or signing Kawhi, trading Paul George. When we said this, we're like, the Clippers gave up a lot for Paul George. They just did. But
Yeah.
if you win a championship, those picks don't matter anymore. You brought what your team wanted to do. We got a really big comment here. You can't even see our faces over it. I think the Rockets could have gotten better packages for Russ and Harden. Russ should have been traded to Charlotte. Ooh. Harden for. I think Dinwiddie would have been a part of the deal if he wasn't injured. So I think I think the Nets kind of almost got helped out by Dinwiddie getting hurt. For me, for the Rockets not to acquire Jared Allen in this trade and him to go to Cleveland, I don't know. I feel like they might have messed up with that. Like, I feel like that could have been a huge part of their team, but I guess not.
I like what he says there at the end. As for Brooklyn, I'd move Kyrie for more role players due to head case, but they're definitely in the East. I was actually talking about this with my dad yesterday. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm definitely looking to move Kyrie right now with the way everything's going. I know his trade value probably isn't ridiculously high with the way he's been acting, but if they could trade him, maybe get a couple of those picks back and some more role players to fill out the rest of their lineup, get some more depth, I think they should consider it. Kyrie's great, but he's not necessary on a team with Durant and Harden, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, with the recent things that have been going on with Kyrie Irving, I think that's what I don't think the Brooklyn Nets will. I think they're going to give him at least a year or 2 years to gel and see if it works. I don't think they're willing to give up on Kyrie just yet because, I mean, he was the whole reason that Kevin Durant went there, and Kevin Durant was the whole reason Kyrie went there. So the big issue with me with this team is they just have three dominant or ball dominant players. And if we're going to compare, I've seen so many comparisons to the 2017 Warriors team and their big three compared to this big three. Curry and Clay, as great as they are on-ball players, they are arguably the two of the best off-ball players we've ever seen play. I mean, you see Curry doesn't stop moving. We see even today, we'll see Draymond Green bring up the ball and Curry's just running in circles around waiting to get an open three. And I mean, Klay Thompson, 60 points and 11 dribbles. That's the end of that conversation. I mean, these are three players that are going to put up 25 to 30 points a night, but are they going to be able to share the ball? Maybe Harden will get better off ball because we've seen him not really work on that ever. He just keeps shooting those step back threes off dribbles. Kyrie, he's a point guard, so he's a very solid passer, but what do you think about that?
The Durant went from the splash pros to the ISO bros. I mean, this goes back to the whole thing. I mean, about trading Kyrie. I mean, right now they have Kyrie and Harden, who are two on-ball players. These are guys who have pretty much brought the ball up the court their entire careers. I know Kyrie had to share a little bit with LeBron in Cleveland, and Harden did some sharing with Westbrook and CP3 the last couple of years. But primarily, these guys are at their best when they're bringing the ball up the court, and they're the primary ball handlers on their team. So that's what I'm most interested to see. I mean, we've seen Durant has been able to play off the ball in his career before, and that's never been an issue for him. He did a fantastic job of doing that in Golden State. Not worried about him at all. It's really the Kyrie Harden fit that I'm most interested to see, and I'm really curious to see how it works at the end of games, because these are three guys in their entire career who they've put up the last shot. If you're Steve Nash, who do you have taken the last shot between these three guys?
Kevin Durant.
Me too.
Period.
I'd
probably give Kyrie second. I just think the best we've debated just on our own who's a better all-time scorer, Harden and Durant, and now look at them, they're playing on the same team. I'd probably Durant, if we're doing pure clutchness, so I'm taking Durant.
No, I agree. I've always said between the two of them, I think Durant's harder to guard, but Harden has more offensive moves in his arsenal to score the ball, I think, if I had to compare them. But you said it's going to be incredible seeing these three on the same floor together. Three incredibly different yet similar players at the same time. Three guys who are all top three in their position. I'm so excited to watch them play. I can't wait to see these three on the floor together. And
I'll ask you one more question regarding the Brooklyn Nets, and we'll move on to other pieces of the trade. How worried are you about their depth now? You know, they're starting DeAndre Jordan, who just the other night Steve Nash he was a coach's scratch, or he didn't play at all. And Jared Allen took that role, and he almost had a 20-20 game. He's been the anchor of that defense. And now they're kind of relying on really heavily on guys like, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, Tyler
Yeah,
Johnson, and
I was
TLC.
just gonna say
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned. I mean, the Nets were an
Okay.
incredibly deep team last year. They lacked the superstar power, but if you watched any of the Raptors Nets series in the playoffs, they were bringing 12, 13 guys. They were playing 12, 13 guys, bringing 7, 8 guys off the bench. There's just a lot of talent deep on the roster. I mean, you got TLC, Timothé Luawu Carabo, who personal favorite of mine, former Sixer. He can shoot lights off the bench. Nick Claxton, don't forget about him.
That is true. I did forget about
Young
him.
big man, very athletic. I really like him. I honestly think Jeff Green's going to get the start, and they'll see them go a little small ball with DeAndre Jordan still coming off the bench.
Okay.
But I think either way, they'll be fine. I'm not too worried. I mean, you just wait and see how many open threes Joe Harris is going to get for this Nets team with Kyrie, Harden, and Durant drawing all these doubles and triples. I mean, Joe Harris is going to average about 6 threes a game the rest of this season. They still have Landry Shamet, too, another former Sixer who I've been a big fan of for a while. Bruce Brown was hitting some clutch shots the other night. I forgot who were they playing against. I might have been. I don't remember. I remember I was watching them the other night. They Bruce Brown hit a clutch shot at the end of the game. No, it wasn't New York.
Denver. OKC and Memphis. Those are the last 4 games.
I think it was Denver. Yeah, it was Denver.
Okay.
And Bruce Brown hit a very clutch shot at the end of the game. I'm not worried about the depth on this team. I know a lot of people are, but like I said, they've always been a pretty deep team. And when you've got superstar power like that, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, so that's there's us talking about the Brooklyn Nets. It's gonna be a team that we're just gonna have to watch and see how they work.
Yeah.
Real quick, I would like to say hello to my little sister Grace. Hi Grace, thank you for the comment. And so let's move on to the Houston Rockets and what you think. Do you think they got I think they're kind of banking on Brooklyn and Kyrie, KD, and Harden leaving sometime and then after their free agency, and then they got 3-4 years of unprotected picks. So what do you think about this deal for Houston?
Yeah, that's a huge. I mean, that was a big success for them. I think. There's no way that those 3 guys play together for more than 4 or 5 years at the absolute max. I don't see them. I don't see this being something that's going to be around for 10 years. When you've got that much, I mean, I'm not going to say they have chemistry issues yet because they just got together. But when you have that much personality between that many guys, especially when one of them is Kyrie Irving, there's no way that those 3 are on the same team through 2025. It's just not going to happen. So the Rockets will definitely get their lottery picks eventually from the deal. Right now, though, they're not a playoff team. I don't think they ended up getting enough back with Oladipo. I know you got a big 3 of John Wall, Oladipo, and Christian Wood. I mean, they're good. Wood's going to be their best player, I think. But
I agree.
I'm not really buying it. I think if they really wanted to make a playoff run, they would have gotten Jared Allen, like you already said. Like Tank said, but Wood and Allen next to each other would have created a lot of matchup problems for a lot of Western teams and their centers. But this isn't a team that's going to compete. Even without Harden, I mean, the West is incredibly deep this year. And even with Harden so far, they haven't really been able to make a splash. I don't really think Oladipo is going to fix those issues. I mean, Houston's going to be good. They got Wall and Oladipo, 2 guys that have something to prove, I guess. Some veterans that have been kind of down in recent years, whether it be with injuries or just poor play. They'll be good, but I don't think they're going to make too big of a splash. I'd give them some time in Houston. I think could be really good, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big John Wall fan for his whole career, and seeing him come back and playing at a top-notch level, he has been playing at a pretty solid level next to James Harden. Made me happy, and Christian Wood's been a near all-star. I mean, you could even make the case that he has been an all-star because, I mean, the Detroit messed up by not re-signing him to the deal that the Rockets got him for, and with Harden not sharing the ball, the pick and roll, even pick and pop with Christian Wood between John Wall and him and Victor Oladipo. Houston's got a bunch of players that they have some of the most amount of picks in the league right now with all the Brooklyn picks they just got. And they still have a competent team that could be fighting for an 8 seed if, they got a bunch of players that they want to prove something. Victor Oladipo, John Wall coming off injuries, Boogie coming off an injury. These guys want to win. They want to prove themselves to the league. So I think Houston's definitely going to be more of a fun team to watch. I don't know if they're going to win a lot of games, but they'll be fun.
Yeah. The thing that I want to compare it to is the way they got rid of Westbrook and Harden within a couple months of each other. And I want to compare that to the way that OKC got rid of Westbrook and Paul George last year. And it's very similar what they did, although I personally think OKC was slightly more successful in the return that they got for their two superstars. They got a huge load of draft picks, and while the Rockets did as well, what the Thunder were able to do that the Rockets were unable to do that I noticed was really differentiate where they were sending where they were getting their picks from. Whereas the Rockets, their entire income of picks is coming from James Harden and coming from the Brooklyn Nets. Whereas OKC, they were able to get first rounders from over 5 different teams, just from not only from the Paul George trade, but from sending Westbrook off and then from sending the guys they got in return for them off, like Steven Adams, Chris Paul, those kind of guys. So yeah, I think OKC ultimately did slightly better with what they were able to get from draft compensation. But Houston, I still think they did better than they originally were doing. I was very concerned with the direction Houston was moving when they still had Westbrook and Harden a couple months ago. And trading Westbrook, I wasn't really big on that deal for them. I think they improved just because John Wall, I think, was a better fit for their team than Westbrook was. But I think it's about time they finally cashed in on those guys and made something worth happening. And it's the future now in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, we talked. I remember when we were doing our power rankings before the year. I had Houston because they still had it was John Wall. The John Wall trade had just been made, but they still had Harden. Yep. I had them like 6th in the West, and you were like, "Oh, I hate the way that they did this." All blah blah blah. And now they did exactly what you said. They kind of were. They didn't go full rebuild because they still have competent players, but they really are banking on those Brooklyn Nets picks for the future. So
absolutely.
And so last part of the trade, I don't think Jared Allen on Cleveland is probably just going to be a better – he's, Andre Drummond's on the last year of his contract. They'll probably let him walk now, and Jared Allen will be the centerpiece for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. I do want to mention about that, though. The Cleveland Cavaliers this season have been the #1 defensive team in the entire NBA, and they're adding one of the best defensive centers in the league. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if that was intentional, if they're trying to improve their defense, or if – it might not be the best fit because they already have a strong defensive front court. So I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. I'm really interested to see. I could totally see Allen being on a different team within the next 6 months, though. By the end of the
either
season.
Allen or they might try and trade Drummond off and get him off with 1 year left on his deal, maybe to a championship contending team that could take on that kind of money. So it'll be interesting to see if Cleveland makes any more moves. And the last part I want to talk about is Karis LeVert to Indiana, replacing Victor Oladipo in the starting lineup next to Brogdon. I think Aaron Holiday probably will keep running the 3 as he's been, or his brother Justin. And then they got Sabonis and Turner still. It's an interesting team. What do you think?
I love that team. Like I really love that iteration of the Pacers team. And I know I had them missing the playoffs at the start of the season. But I've loved what I've seen from them. Sabonis and Brogdon have blown away all expectations this season. Yes. And I'm a huge Karis LeVert fan too. Indiana, I think, is a lock to make the playoffs at this point. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I know because Washington, who we had in the playoffs, is looking terrible.
Don't count out Washington yet, though.
I won't, but I'm saying
still
as of right now.
holding up hopes on Washington. I agree, though. I agree. Indiana's looked way better than Washington or Toronto, who have both been probably the 2 most disappointing teams of the season. But I love Brogdon and LeVert might be the perfect backcourt in the NBA because of how well I think their games are going to complement each other. Because LeVert has the intense athleticism and scoring, and he can just score from anywhere on the floor, where Brogdon, who's also been a good scorer this year, provides incredible playmaking and defense, which is like, to me, if you can have one guard who's a great scorer and another guard who can pass the ball, play great defense, and just run the offense, that's a backcourt that's going to have a lot of success. And then throw in Sabonis and Turner, who have both had great seasons so far. Indiana's going to be pretty dangerous this year. And I really like the way that they got LeVert to fill the hole that TJ Warren has left in his injury.
Yeah, I like the move too. I think Victor Oladipo's time was kind of up in Indy. He wasn't fitting the play style that they were going for. And Sabonis is really solidifying himself as a top 25 player, top 20 player, maybe even in the league. I mean, he's been carrying that Indiana team better than I think we both expected him to do. And so props to Sabonis, props to Miles Turner for really stepping it up. And he was rumored in a lot of trades, but he's come up and one of the best defensive anchors in the NBA, hitting his open threes. And as you said, Brogdon's just a great facilitator. So I'm really liking the way that the Pacers are built now with Karis LeVert.
Absolutely. As of right now, I'm putting guys like Brogdon and Sabonis in the All-Star game over guys like Westbrook and Siakam. I
Me
mean,
too.
I think they're just having better seasons, and they're leading their team to success.
Exactly. So 20 minutes in, and we're just finishing up talking about the trade. That shows you how crazy of a trade this was. We've seen blockbuster trades happening a lot in the past couple of years. It's been an exciting couple of years of basketball, and even more exciting when a guy like James Harden gets put on the trade block after being in Houston for what was it, almost 12 seasons, 11 seasons that now it's been, or maybe not as
20,
much, but
no, 2012 to 2028 seasons, 2021, 9 seasons. Yeah.
So
I know I can't even remember the last time a trade like a trade has made this much of an impact in the league. It's normally like free agency signings and stuff. This is incredible. Like I can't even think of one that has had this much of an impact. So probably the Kyrie one to Boston is the last one that's had this much of a big impact in the league. I'm so excited.
Exactly. No, the Brooklyn Nets are going to be a team that everyone's going to have their eyes on, and depending on when Kyrie Irving comes back from this, whatever he's doing, hopefully that'll make him even more fun to watch.
Yep.
So now that we're done with that, let's move into the actual topic of today, which we're going to be doing a little game kind of thing for the next hour called Start Bench Cut. I have them all written out right now. I'll also give my opinions as well, but I've got a couple start bench cuts where I give 3 either duos or 1 player, depending on the situation. And then you'll say who you're going to start, who you're going to bench, and who you're going to cut from the team.
Oh, boy.
And so here we go.
Right,
I got a bunch of them listed out. And I think I'm going to start off first with let's start with the duos first. I got a couple individual players. I think those will be able to – this will be interesting. So let's start with backcourts in the NBA. Duo backcourts.
Okay.
We're going to do start bench cut. Kemba Walker, when healthy, and Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins. Start, bench, cut. This is tough.
See, this one's difficult for me because it's hard for me to rate Boston with Kemba Walker, and who knows how he's going to be when he comes back. I don't think a lot of people are saying he'll never be the same player again with his he's lost a bit of a step there because of his injury.
No, I hope not.
But Jaylen Brown's been fantastic. I'm gonna put the Suns at start. I like the Suns the most.
Wow. Okay.
CP3 and Booker have been just incredible this year. They're so fun to watch. I haven't watched them in a couple weeks, but I watched a lot of their beginning of the season games, and I think like I was saying with the Indiana backcourt, they complement each other so well. Just Chris Paul being the peak definition of what a point guard in the NBA should be with his passing, his defense, his just overall leadership, and then Devin Booker being the scorer that he is, up and coming player in the league. I mean, I think he's been a favorite of mine for a while, so I'm probably taking them number 1. There's really no weaknesses on that backcourt. I'm probably gonna take Golden State 2, Boston 3, probably.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do that because I like Andrew Wiggins' defense a lot.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up as well.
And I think mixed with Steph Curry's scoring and Wiggins' defense, that's a backcourt I think that makes up a bit for some of what the Celtics lack, which I'll get into in a second. But again, you have the best guard in the league with Steph Curry, which already is a huge plus. And while Wiggins is the worst of those 6, I think his defense is good enough, and Curry more than picks up the load on the other end. So I'll take them 2. And then I'll probably take the Celtics 3. And again, this is definitely weighted because Kemba's injury scares me a lot on what he's going to be in the future. But Jaylen Brown's been amazing this year on both offensively and defensively, and he's shown that he can pick it up in clutch situations as well. Kemba worries me a little bit. I haven't really been on the Kemba hype train in recent years since he left Charlotte, just because I watched a lot of him in the playoffs last year, and I was incredibly underwhelmed at what he was able to provide for them. When he's not scoring the ball, he doesn't really have that much of a net positive on the floor, which is why I opted for the other 2 backcourts over them. But still a great scorer when he's hitting his shots, and still an overall really strong backcourt. What are your thoughts?
Actually, I have it the same as you. The one thing I want to bring up is when you look at Chris Paul's stats this year, he's only averaging 13 and 9. And I saw one of the YouTubers I watch compare this year and probably what it'll be next year as well for Chris Paul to what Jason Kidd did in the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. You know, you look at Jason Kidd's stats, and he'd always been a 15 and 10 guy. And then for the Mavericks, his stats went down a little bit. But when you really watch that team, the impact that he had on the Dallas Mavericks team is remarkable. So, yes, Chris Paul's stats are down next year, and the Suns they could end up being a 4 seed the way they've been playing right now. But we'll see that this team's definitely better than the Thunder team was last year. So Chris Paul definitely had a better year last year. But you really watch how the Phoenix Suns play. Their whole offense revolves around what Chris Paul does. And so because of that, and obviously Devin Booker averaging 23, and this is kind of an off year for him. I'll take that backcourt. I'll take Stephen Wiggins next because I've watched probably every single Golden State Warriors game as a fan. And man, Draymond Green must have done something to Andrew Wiggins because his scoring ability, although, I mean, he didn't start off the year great. Him and Kelly Oubre started off pretty bad, but Wiggins just looks, no one can drive on him. No one can get a step on him right now. And it's, everyone's been slandering him about this defense. I wasn't a big fan of him in Minnesota when they made the trade with D'Angelo Russell. I was like, I wasn't a big fan of the trade, but now I'm seeing Wiggins' defense, and he's kind of exactly what we needed. And so, we all three, me, my dad, and Zach, all
in agreement here.
We're all in agreement here. So there we go.
I feel like this is gonna be a rare one here. We're all in agreement.
Oh, I agree. So let's move on now to duos. I got two different ones that are under the age of 25.
Okay. Oh, so I like the young one. Wait. Before, are we doing it right now, or like if I'm a franchise, I gotta pick one of these for the rest of my future?
Ooh, that's a good. For how about this? For the first one, we'll do right now. For the second one, we'll do future because the second one's a little more exciting. So
okay, that's fair.
For the first one, you have Trae Young and John Collins, John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., and D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns.
Okay. Well, first off, the Timberwolves guys are 3.
Oh,
the Timberwolves guys are 3. To me, there's a pretty big gap between the first two and them. I like D'Lo a lot. You know how much of a big D'Lo fan I am. But to me, he's not even on the same tier as Trae Young or John Morant.
Yeah, I agree.
Just scoring, defense, overall impact. I think both of the other guys have a huge advantage over him.
So who's starting?
And while Karl Anthony Towns is probably the best of the big men in that group, I've never been the biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan. I've always felt he was slightly overrated. Just because he doesn't really bring much to the winning, and defense. His defense has been subpar the last couple of years. Can't really stop many of the other big centers, and I've always been a huge defensive rebounding for my centers. So Towns and D'Lo will be at 3.
And who are you starting?
I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm taking Memphis at 1.
Wow, disagreeing with my dad.
Yeah, I'm gonna start Memphis.
Okay.
The only thing there is I like Jaren a lot more than John Collins. And as much as I love John Collins, I think John Collins is he's an easy 20 and 10 guy in the league right now, and I think that's pretty much what he's going to be the next 5 years or so through his prime. But I think Jaren has the potential to be something really special, and Bobby's really my roommate Bobby's really going to like this because I don't think I've ever met a bigger Jaren Jackson fan, but the way that he's able to step outside the 3-point line and shoot the ball mixed with his size and his athleticism, I mean, the potential is unrivaled. And right now with what John Morant before his injury and Trae Young had been doing, to me, there's really no separation between them. Both of them look like they're going to be top 3-point guards in the league in the next couple of years. Trae, I think I would give the offensive edge to, while Ja would give the defensive edge to. But they're both incredible. So that's really why I'll take the Grizzlies, because I think Jaren has a lot more potential than Collins does to be a superstar.
I gotcha.
I mean,
so
3.
You know how much of a John Morant fan I am. I love that guy. I love the way he plays.
Yep.
But to me, Trae Young, I have to agree with this. Trae Young is just I think I'm actually a bigger John Collins fan than I am Triple J fan.
Mhm.
I like how John Collins I don't think he's a max player, which he tries to say he is. So there might be a chance this duo splits up in the near future because of how much money John
Yeah,
Collins wants.
the chemistry issues was part of it for me as well.
Yeah, if I'm gonna wipe away the chemistry issues, I'll take John Collins' skill set. With his finishing ability, he's shown flashes of being a very good defensive player, and he can
Mhm.
stretch the floor even. He's just one of those very underrated 2010 guys, and there's not a lot of
Yeah,
guys we can say right now that are really true 2010 guys, and so
yeah,
I think also he's the perfect fit next to a guy like Trae Young. And as long as Atlanta can put other pieces around him, Trae Young is going to be an MVP caliber player if he doesn't go through these random slumps he's been going through.
yep.
He can shoot lights out. He's even a solid finisher. Defense is a determining factor for this, but I think Trae Young's offensive game is just too good to overlook.
Yeah,
So,
I mean
yeah.
Trae Young is incredible. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm actually just looking through some of Jaren Jackson's last stats before his injury, just to
Yeah,
see if
hope
I
he
can
comes back
find
strong.
anything interesting. And what's interesting to note is in his last 10 games, his last 12
Mhm.
games, right? His last 12 games before his injury, he was averaging 21 points per game on 53% shooting.
Wow.
Um, which was up from his 17 points per game, which the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like Collins a lot too, but I don't know. I just have this feeling that Jaren is going to come back from his injury and he's going to be like an absolute superstar. I have high expectations for him, and as
Mhm.
much as I love Trae Young too, I think I'd give Ja a bit of an edge. I mean, I watched the Memphis his 44-point game, which was just amazing to me. I think what John Morant can do with the basketball, passing the ball, rebounding the ball, defending, scoring. I think he is just the most complete point guard I've seen in this league. Being so young in a long time, I think when he really hits his prime, I mean, I think John Morant's going to be a top 5 player in the league.
Yeah, I
But
think
I mean,
both those
Trae
point
Young's
guards.
fantastic too. Trae Young's fantastic too. So
Both these point
it's
guards are
really
going to be
tough to call.
competing for like MVPs at some point in their career. They're
Yeah,
both top. I mean, in
for
4 years, they could be top 2 point guards in the NBA if others decline.
I I absolutely think they will be because Curry, Lillard, Kyrie, those guys will start to decline, and it's these two,
Yeah.
and depending on what you consider Luka position wise.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Luka actually will move us right into for the future and who you think will have the
Okay.
better careers under 25. So we're going to start with the Pelicans in Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, the Celtics in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and the Dallas Mavericks in Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Now, to me, here I'll say this real quick. There's a couple guys like KP's probably the best big man, pure center,
Mhm.
where Zion's more the power forward. You got Luka, who's a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum's a 3 and a 4. Brandon Ingram's a definite 3, but we got a couple of different positions here. But let's hear who you're starting first. I think we'll agree with who we're starting.
It's tough for me to put the Pelicans at 3 here. I'm
I
probably gonna
agree.
go. I'm gonna start Mavericks, bench
I'm going to as well.
Celtics, and
Yep.
cut the Pelicans, and that's tough for me
It's
because I
tough.
love. I mean, watching the Pelicans, Ingram and Zion. I've watched them a couple of times this year, and they are so fun to watch. I mean, that is a squad right there, and Ingram's scoring mixed with, I mean, Zion's just the way he bullies people down low, dominance down low, exactly. I mean, it's an inside outside duo that is almost impossible to stop offensively, and to me, I think Ingram's only getting better. I mean, he is every time I watch him, I'm more impressed with his game, and that just shows how good the other two duos are. That I have them at 3. Brown has taken another step this year. I mean, I didn't think it was possible. He's up averaging like 26 points per game this year,
Yeah.
and him and Tatum, I think, are both around 26, 27 points per game.
And Brown's bringing the
I mean,
defense.
yeah, Brown is an incredible defender. Tatum is incredibly clutch. He's already hit 2 game winners this year. If Tatum could become slightly more efficient, there's still times he takes some really bad shots. If he can become slightly more efficient, I think Tatum's could be a top 8 to 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
The Celtics have been great this year, but I'm taking Luka Doncic over them all. And as much as I'm not even the biggest Porzingis fan, I've always felt like he's been slightly overhyped. Just injury risks have completely, to me, derailed his value, and I don't think he's ever going to be completely healthy in his career. But Luka Doncic makes up for it because I think Luka is going to be in the GOAT contention by the end of his career. I think Luka is fantastic, passing, rebounding, shooting, defending. His defense has stepped up a lot this year. His defensive rating has gotten a lot better, and he just looks a lot better just staying with guys on the defensive end. And his offense is just as good as always. So, yeah, I'm taking Luka and the Mavericks over everyone.
Yeah, I have to agree with that just because of how incredible Luka is of a player. And this is not discrediting Zion and Brandon Ingram because Zion to me looks like he could go down as a top 10 power forward of all time if he really can keep up this just dominance he has all around. No one wants to drive in on a 6'6" guy, and that's because of how just purely big and strong he is. And then Brandon Ingram, he's taken the keys to that offense and run with them. I mean, he's ever since he left LA, he's shown he can lead a team, and they put the right pieces around them, and they'll be a fun team to watch for the future.
Absolutely.
And so I agree with you on my rankings, by the way. I got to put the Celtics at 2, and it's a close 2 even because I think Jaylen Brown will be that great of a player. And Jason Tatum is going to be a top 10 if he's not already in the next 2 years. And so, I mean, those 3 teams really got for promising futures, especially with the Pelicans. Even looking at it with Alonzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they got good surrounding players around, young players around too. So those 3 teams will be fun to watch.
My question for you is: how long do you give the Pelicans to start winning? Like, I assume they don't make the play. I mean, they might make the playoffs this year, but they're kind of a bubble team this year. So say they don't make it this year. Do you think it's time to panic if next year they're not competing?
I don't. These guys, I mean, we're talking under 25. Brandon Ingram's not even in his prime yet. Lonzo Ball he's still trying to fix his jump shot, and I'm sure at some point he'll become he's been better this year even. But I know you're not big on that. I think his defensive presence though is remarkable. But they do need scoring, and I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a really sleeper guy. He just put up 37 the other night against the Clippers, and
were you watching that game at all? I
did not watch it at all.
Oh, okay.
But I wish we could have commented on that. But to me, can move Eric Bledsoe and Lonzo Ball, move one of them to the bench. Oh my God, that is probably, listen, those 2 players are extremely talented in their own ways, but they just don't work together. So Stan Van Gundy you got to figure that out and move one of them to the bench.
Light up that last comment we just saw on there. Ball equals bust. I want to emphasize that. I'm sorry.
Not
Lonzo Ball has been LaMelo's great. Lonzo has been in the league for 4 years now. And in 4 years, I think he's worse today than he was in his first game in the league. Like, me, I don't see any improvement whatsoever. He's a good defender. That's about it. I mean, he can pass the ball decently, but he can't score, and he just looks lost out there. He looks lost out there when he's playing. He can't run an offense.
And you put him next to another all-around kind of player in Eric Bledsoe, who's like mediocre at everything. And you got pure shooters off the bench in Alexander Walker and JJ Redick. I don't care how old JJ Redick is; he'll still be able to shoot 40% on your head. Yeah. Please just start one of them, Stan Van Gundy. It'll help your team so much.
Yeah. It makes Ben Simmons look like he can shoot when you're starting backcourt.
Yeah, and so. So that's a good question about the Pelicans because they're going to be an interesting team to see what they do in the future. So let's move on to another interesting start bench cut. We're going to talk about top shooting guards in the NBA, and obviously Klay Thompson's injured, so we're not going to talk about him in this conversation. James Harden is our ranking in shooting guards above everyone else. Let's do those second tier guys. Start bench cut. I'm gonna have you go first because honestly, I was trying to think. This was the one that stood out to me when we were doing the entire, and I was writing it out, and I was lost. So start bench cut: Paul George, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. Silence. Here, I'll start about just talking about them. Paul George is the best defender on this list. And when he wants to be, can be the probably still worst offensive player on this list if we're going pure scoring ability.
Okay,
Now it's
I've got
whether you
mine.
take Bradley Beal scoring or Devin Booker scoring or Paul George's defense. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna start. Okay, I'm gonna bench Beal. I mean, I'm not. I'm gonna cut Beal. Beal's my last one.
Okay.
I'm taking Beal 3. I'm taking. I like Beal a lot. But he's shown he can't. He has never been on a winning team, and I do personally hold him partly accountable for this season. I know he's averaging 35 points per game right now, but he's averaging 35 points per game right now. But his defense is atrocious. First of all, he is. I mean, every
Yes.
time I watch them play,
The whole team's defense is
the
atrocious.
whole team defense is terrible to begin with. But his individual defense is part of the problem. I mean, he can't stay in front of anybody. And I'm gonna go George 1, Booker 2. I'm gonna do the opposite of what your dad had there. And look, I know playoff P, pandemic P, PG 13%. Call him whatever you want. He's been really good this year, and I'm not giving up on him yet in the playoffs.
Okay.
I'm really not, because there are times I watch Paul George in the regular season, and I'm like, wow, this guy is like right there with the best of them. The last 2 times I've watched Lakers and Clippers play, which was the first game of this season and the last game of the regular season last year, Paul George was the best player on the court in both of those games, and that was on a court with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And that every time I watch him, I'm like, sometimes he looks like he is like the best player in the league, and there are other times when he looks like he doesn't belong on a high school team. I can't figure him out. When he's playing at his absolute peak, I will take George over both of those guys. I just need to see it in the playoffs. I've already talked about Booker for forever. You know how much I love Devin Booker. I think Booker has the more clutch gene over Beal, so I'll take Booker over him, and I think he's a better defender. I think he gets a lot of slack for his defense, which I think is a little unwarranted. His defensive rating is much better than Beal's, and just watching him, he plays off the ball defense pretty well as well. So I'm gonna cut him a little slack there.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna go start George, bench Booker, cut Beal. What do you got?
So when I'm looking at it, if we're actually going to use the actual definition of start, bench, cut, who I'm starting, who I'm going to bring off the bench, and then who I'm going to cut from the team. Starting wise, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to start Paul George. I'm going to bring Bradley Beal off the bench. And I'm going to say the tightness of Bradley Beal and Devin Booker is incredible. I mean, they've done the same thing pretty much their entire up until this year, where he has Chris Paul. Yeah. They've done the same thing their entire career. They've been on a bad team and scored the ball 30 points a game. You talk about defense. I'm not going to say anything about Booker's defense, because I think he's a below average defender. Now Bradley Beal, that's not saying anything against Bradley Beal for Bradley Beal, because Bradley Beal's defense is awful also. But Bradley Beal's just, I love his offense. I've tried to watch a couple Wizards games, and his pure offensive game is just incredible. And I even agree with you. I'll take Booker in the clutch over him. But when I'm looking for someone off the bench, I just want someone to bring me buckets, and these two are 2 of the top 5 guys I'll take if I would just want a bucket. But 35 points per game, 30 points per game last year and not even making the All-Star game. My dad thinks we're both wrong for starting Paul George. Paul George has had a revenge season. He's been playing very well.
You put Paul George on the Washington Wizards right now with Russ Westbrook and what they're doing. They're a playoff team. That's all I'm saying. A playoff team. We've seen Westbrook and George play together before, and
George was a top 3 MVP candidate that year
in a difficult Western Conference. That's all I'm saying.
But I'll take Beal, and then I'll take Beal off the bench. I don't want to cut Booker, but I will.
That's understandable. No, that's understandable. Booker or Beal is tough. I think right now, I just think you got to take George over both of them, though.
I agree. And so
that's a good one.
I was going to actually throw in Donovan. My original one had Donovan Mitchell instead of Paul George, where I think I would be cutting Donovan Mitchell if I had to do that. Yeah. But you throw Donovan Mitchell in with these 4, I mean, that makes it even closer. So then you
To
could
me,
even
Donovan,
I'd say healthy Klay Thompson. You throw that in there, and where is he falling? So it's just crazy to me how
Donovan
close these
Mitchell
guys
is.
are.
I mean, I've always considered Mitchell and Booker to be like neck and neck, but
Yeah,
so he's right up there with Beal too.
yeah. So
All right, let's move on. This is hurting my brain. Too many
Yeah.
good shooting guards.
We got 45 minutes left, so let's get through as many as we can. Let's go over to point guards. Starting caliber point guards in the league. And this one, it's another one too, because one of these guys is on the decline while the other two are on the uprise. So I'm gonna do start bench cut: Kyle Lowry, Malcolm Brogdon, Jamal Murray, and I'll go first.
That is interesting. Yeah, go first.
I'm gonna do the exact opposite of what I just said. I'm gonna start Jamal Murray. I'm gonna bring Malcolm Brogdon off the bench, and I'm going to cut Kyle Lowry. And if you asked me this a year ago, I bet you I'm starting Kyle Lowry because Jamal Murray hadn't gone into the bubble yet, and Malcolm Brogdon's still that kind of not mediocre, but just a good facilitator. But, Jamal Murray showed me that he can turn up when he wants to, and I don't care about what Jason Tatum said, that some people showed up in the bubble that he didn't expect them to, because Jamal Murray's bubble performance was out of this world.
Legendary.
Malcolm Brogdon off the bench, he brings the defense and facilitating you would want, especially behind a guy like Jamal Murray. And Kyle Lowry hasn't been there this year for that Raptors team that everyone expected to still be a playoff team. Right now, they're second worst in the NBA. And so
third.
Bench Brogdon and I'll cut Kyle Lowry.
I'm starting Murray. I think that's easy.
Okay.
To me, I think he's head and shoulders above both of those other guys right now.
Right now he is.
I love Jamal Murray. I just watching him in the bubble was fantastic last year. And while he hasn't been quite up to that level this season, he's been closer to that level than of his normal regular season form from recent years. If he's shooting well, he's arguably the best player in the gym. If he's not shooting well, he's going to hurt you. But to me, he's much better than both of those other guys. So far, if you're just looking at what's happened this season through the 10 games, I think you got to take Brogdon above Lowry. I'm still gonna put some faith in my boy Kyle Lowry. I'm gonna bench Kyle and cut Brogdon. It's close. It's very close. Brogdon's been great this season, but Kyle Lowry is one of those guys who always elevates his performance in the playoffs. At least the last 3 years or so. He used to have the reputation of a playoff choker, which I think is funny because that has just completely gone out the window in recent years. Yeah. He was incredibly influential in that championship run in 2019. And he was, in my opinion, the best player on that roster last year's playoffs as well when they took the Celtics to 7 games. He was much better than Mild P. And then Van Vliet played pretty well too, but I think Lowry was definitely the anchor for that team. So it's definitely tough. I mean, you've been knocking on Lowry a little bit. He hasn't even been that bad this season. He's still averaging around 18 and 7. I was just looking, shooting over almost 45% from the field, which is around what he normally does. And his defensive impact is always much higher than his offensive impact as well. But yeah, it's close. I think if you're going based off of this season, I would take Brogdon. But if I'm trying to build a team for the playoffs, I'd rather have Lowry on my squad.
It's a good point. Malcolm Brogdon's played great. Well, Kyle Lowry hasn't, as along with the entire Toronto Raptors, have not been playing great. So
yeah,
it's a toss-up. I think Kyle Lowry will bring it in the playoffs, but Brogdon's his growth in the league. What was he? A second-round pick. One rookie of the year as a second-round pick, and then he's been a remarkable player for the Indiana Pacers.
It's do you want to hear something funny that I always like to mention about Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah, of course.
Right, Malcolm Brogdon is 28 years old. Andre Drummond is 27 years old.
Really?
Brogdon won Rookie of the Year 4 years ago. Drummond's played his first season 9 years ago.
Wow.
Or 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I've always found that interesting. Okay, you move on to the next one.
That is really funny. Malcolm Brogdon's he's an older young player, I guess.
Older young guy. Yeah. It's just weird because I remember he was a rookie. He was a rookie a couple years ago, and he's already 28.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tatum was a rookie the year after, and Tatum's like 22.
Yeah. Tatum's still
24, whatever.
19, right? He hasn't.
He's still 19, right?
Yeah. We already did a thing of shooting guards, and now I'm going to do a step down in shooting guards. That's the next one up,
Okay.
so we might as well stick with the guard play. Start bench cut. Zach LaVine, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Colin Sexton.
Oh, this one's tough. I'm gonna cut Sexton, and that's no
I am
disrespect to
too.
Sexton and the season he's been having. I just think those other guys are both better.
I'm
you know what?
Shea.
This might be controversial. I was just gonna say I'm gonna start Shea.
Okay, I'm starting Shea too.
LaVine has been fantastic this season, averaging almost 28 points per game for the Bulls.
He's been incredible.
But Shea just impacts winning different.
Mm-hmm.
His defensive impact is, I think, much better than LaVine's is, and they've been winning for somehow. I haven't really watched.
5-6.
I can't even lie. I haven't watched much of the Thunder. I think I've only watched like a quarter of their games so far this year, so I might be a little bit off on Shea. But if somehow they're winning, and he is their only like good player. Like Lou Dort, Darius Baisley, they're decent, but Shea
George
is their
Hill.
only like star. George Hill, Al Horford.
No. Al Horford's at the bottom of everyone in the league.
No, but yeah, I mean, Shea's been slightly inefficient. I think he's shooting like around 45%.
I'd be shooting 20%. I'd shoot every shot.
The fact that he's doing that with that team is incredibly impressive. And as good as LaVine's bad, I just straight up think Shea is a better basketball player just for his defense and his just overall impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, LaVine's been since they got even before Billy Donovan. I think Billy Donovan, even though he might not be playing as efficiently, but LaVine's game has definitely just grown from just being a scorer. Even he's shown to be a good off-ball defender where he can get those like tip steals and everything. Him and Kobe White are a fun backcourt, and I'd bring LaVine off the bench because of, as you said, Shea's impact on just winning basketball. LaVine has been able to translate to that. Shea in his second year was as the 4 seed last year, and I don't care Chris Paul or not. That Shea had a huge impact on that team.
Went 7 games too. He was probably their second best player, but offensively, you could argue he was the first.
Yeah. So I love Shea. I think what he brings to the table is so good, and Zach LaVine's scoring off the bench would make him the best scoring 6th man in the NBA.
For sure. Out of curiosity though, just because I don't want to screw up one of your things, but I just have, which backcourt would you take right now for your future? Would you take Sexton and Garland or Kobe White and LaVine?
Sexton and Garland, because I think Garland's.
I disagree.
Really, I think Garland's potential is higher than Kobe White's because I think Kobe White's a very okay. The way I look at it, I've watched actually a couple Bulls games. Kobe White and Zach LaVine are both pure scorers. They just know how to get buckets. I think Sexton's the pure scorer, and I think he can be a 25 points per game scorer in his career. And I think Garland's the playmaking guy who can also put up a good 15 to 20 a game that they need. And I think Garland's playmaking ability and defense is better than Kobe White's, and that's why I'm going to give the edge to them.
Okay, I'll definitely give you the defense. I know Kobe started a little bit defensively, but I think Kobe's a really underrated playmaker. He's averaging, I think, around like 6 or 7 assists this year already. And the way I've also watched a little bit of the Bulls, and he leads that Bulls offense really well. I think. Sorry, the NFL playoffs are getting in my head right now.
I know.
I don't know. I really like Kobe White. I think he's going to be a superstar someday. So slight disagreement with you on that one, but I think they're really close. Both backcourts.
Yeah, those two backcourts are so close because also now LaVine scoring wise is very much ahead of Sexton, but he's also a little older than Sexton. So we haven't seen what Sexton can toss him into if we're talking pure offense. And so it's a good. I actually didn't have either of them in my thing, so that's a good question.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's go on to mid-tier players. We've been talking about all these superstar great players. Might as well throw in some. We'll give some love to the mid-tier guys. I actually have it next to average players. Start bench cut. No, they're probably above average, but compared to the other people we had in this, they're average. T.J. Warren, Kelly Oubre, and Robert Covington. 3 players that honestly I'm not big fans of, and Kelly Oubre,
average.
I am not big fans of Kelly Oubre. Oh my God, man can't shoot.
I mean, above average. That's. I think we're talking a little below average here. God, that's tough. I'm starting. Who's the first guy you said? Whoever you said first, I'm starting. Because there's no way in hell I'm starting Oubre or Covington. Warren, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm definitely starting Warren. I mean, we saw it in the bubble last year, right? He can score. When he's on fire, he can score better than just about anyone. God, those other two. Can I cut them both? I'll probably take Covington just because of his defense, even though I'm like the biggest Covington hater out there, and he is pretty good defensively, so I'll probably take him. What about you?
I'll start Warren. I'm gonna bench Oubre because I think he can turn it up eventually, even though he's been so god awful. It's only 12 games into the season so far. So
yeah,
I'll hope in the next 60 games, if the season doesn't get canceled, that he can turn it up. Just because I think Robert Covington's an overrated defender and an overrated 3-point shooter. And
I agree.
Yeah, I'll take Oubre's pure just like looks, finishing ability, and just what he brings a lot of energy to the court. When you look, it's funny because he'll shoot 0 for 7 and he'll make 1 3 and he'll be like, and I'm like, every other shot you've taken, what are you doing? And it's just like he just plays with energy and passion that I've never seen out of a guy like Robert Covington. I'll be like, I'll start TJ Warren, but those guys
That's
are not
fine.
worth.
I would probably, if I'm a coach, I'd probably cut both of them. So.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It's funny if you asked me that question like 3 weeks ago, I'd be like, "Oh, Oubre or Warren? That's a tough one. Who am I starting?" And now I'm like, "Shit, I'd rather have Covington."
Yeah. So let's move on to a position now that we haven't talked about at all, which is the big men, the center positions. Three.
The most useless position in basketball.
You ready? Start bench cut. Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Bam Adebayo. I think we're both starting Bam.
I was just gonna say I'm starting Bam, benching Cat, cutting Gobert. I don't mean to sound like Shaq. I don't mean to sound like Shaq over here, but he's a great, amazing defender. But he's just that. He's a defender. And he's not even. And when I say amazing defender, I mean amazing rim protector. I wouldn't even consider him an amazing defender.
Yeah, I agree.
To me, an amazing defender is someone like Ben Simmons or Giannis Antetokounmpo or Anthony Davis, Draymond Green, who just when they guard someone, they just completely lock them down. Kawhi Leonard, someone like that.
No matter where on the floor.
Yeah, and that person just won't score, and they're just like completely taken out of the game. Where Gobert's amazing defense just comes from blocking shots and providing a good post presence, but that kind of defense isn't quite as valuable in today's NBA just because of the prominence of the 3-point ball. So I don't mean to disrespect Gobert in that way because he's great at what he does, but I just don't think the type of player he is very valuable in today's game. Like I said before, I'm not a big Cat fan either because I don't think he impacts winning, and he's just an atrocious defender. But he can score the ball much better than Gobert can, and I just think he's overall just more talented. And then I'll take Bam over both of them just because his defense and his overall winning impact is much higher than either of them. And I love Bam's versatility. He can guard off of pick and rolls really well. As the Celtics really tried to run like a spread offense against him to try to get rid of his defensive impact, and he was still coming out to the 3-point line, defending guys like Daniel Tice, even playing against Jason Tatum. He's such a versatile defender, and he's pretty dominant inside offensively especially in that Celtics series when he's given the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna do start bench cut, so that means that they're gonna play on the same team. I don't need Bam. I don't need a defender to back up Bam. I mean, you could even put Cat at the 4 and Bam at the 5, and they'll be dominant every once in a while. But you can't put Rudy at the 4 and Bam at the 5 or match that. So if we're gonna start Bam, as you talked about his versatile defense, which I'll move right into we'll talk about defense next. But. Awesome. Bam, I'll start Bam because I think he's best at both categories, offense and defense, possibly. Or he's probably, I like Bam. And then Cat's offense, I talk about you like scoring off your bench. Cat's not going to come in and need to lock down any great players if you're bringing him off the bench. So I'll bench Cat, and I'll Rudy's just a paint beast, and I don't need that on my team.
You know what I was expecting the old Jokic Embiid Cat for one of these. So I'm assuming since we had Cat, we're not going to see that. Which I figured you would have. I figured you would have just done it just to make me put Jokic ahead of Embiid.
Well, hey, you said it, not me. But
after this season, I'm taking Embiid again.
Wow, it depends. I think it'll depend on what teams win more. I mean, the Nuggets finally turned their losing streak into a winning streak and are in the playoffs again, and it's really because of Jokic.
Yeah, but Embiid, best player on the best team, not the best team anymore, but we would be the best team if Adam Silver didn't make us play 2 games without any players.
With just Tyrese Maxey shooting 45 shots a game.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about defense with Bam and Rudy. Let's move into best defender in their prime. And 2 of these players are in their prime, and one of them is a little aging. But best defender in their prime. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Who are you taking to get your stop?
I love LeBron. LeBron's 3.
Really?
I love LeBron. LeBron's 3.
There's no way.
If it's just one stop, I think I'm going to take Anthony Davis 1, Giannis 2, because Giannis tends to shy away in that last possession. Giannis tends to shy away from the big defensive stop that he needs to make. I saw that a lot in the Miami Heat series and a lot in the Raptors series 2 years ago against Kawhi. So I'll take Giannis 2. I mean, LeBron is not known for his defense. I'm sorry. I've watched LeBron play enough, and even when he turns up his defense, especially at this age too, it's not the same as the top 2 defenders in the league. I'm sorry. You can't compare him to Anthony Davis and Giannis in this situation. You can't. It's the 2 best defenders in the league.
One stop.
I'm taking Kawhi over any of these guys. So.
I agree. That's why I didn't put him in here, because I knew he'd put Kawhi. But if I want one stop, give me LeBron, then give me AD, then give me Giannis. AD and Giannis is close, but if I want one stop, I'm going to LeBron James. And that's not
all
nuts.
I don't know. All I know is watching that Miami Heat series last year, every time Jimmy Butler got going, they put Anthony Davis on him and not LeBron James, because he was cooking the hell out of LeBron in that series. That's all I'm saying.
LeBron's prime.
No, we're not talking about prime. We're talking about right now.
I said in the prime.
You didn't say prime. No, you didn't say prime. You said he's de-aging, and you said right now. Okay, in LeBron's prime. Okay, LeBron's prime in the Heat. Yeah, I would take him number 1.
Okay, that's what. Okay, there you
go. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna
take Kawhi.
You're gonna take AD and over Giannis still.
Yeah, I'm still taking AD over Giannis, just because I think they're about similar defensive levels, but when it comes down to defensive clutch, I'll take AD.
Okay, let's stick with defense and all present day players. Defensively, well, I won't say you need one stop. I'll just say all defensive. Who are you going to take to be the defensive anchor for your team? Start bench. Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Paul George. You're going to want to start him, and you shouldn't.
I'm starting Ben Simmons.
I know.
I'm starting Ben Simmons. I'm benching Jimmy Butler. I'm cutting Paul George. What?
I'll start Jimmy.
It's close. Again, just because you said it, all defense is why I put Simmons ahead. If you're talking one possession, like end of game, I need to stop, I'm taking Jimmy. But I just think Simmons is the overall better defender. He's more versatile. He's more athletic. He's bigger. He can guard bigger guys. He can guard anyone 1 through 5. So I'll take Simmons just at a pure defensive level. Jimmy's got that dog mentality, though, in that fourth quarter, so that he's definitely right up there. PG's a great defender. I won't knock him on that. Yeah, he's not on those guys' level.
I'm gonna start Jimmy because if you put Jimmy in we saw him in the NBA Finals when he wanted to play defense as hard as he can. He will play his ass off and play as hard defense as you ever see. And Ben Simmons, said it, he's probably the most versatile defender in the NBA right now with being able to guard all 5. But I don't know. He doesn't have the dog mentality Jimmy has, and I'll take Jimmy Butler's just overall defensive, just presence even that he brings. And the thing is, Jimmy Butler makes everyone around him a better defender. He just makes everyone want to make a stop, and I mean, we haven't seen that from Ben Simmons. Hopefully, one day we will.
We saw it from Ben Simmons in 2018 when Jimmy was on his team.
That is true. So I'll take Jimmy starting. I'll bench Ben Simmons, but no one. If you put them together on the same court, no one is going to stop except for Kawhi, and then Paul George. And I'll cut Paul George just like you.
You're telling me we had Jimmy, Ben, and Embiid on the same court, and Kawhi was still able to hit that shot over all three of them.
I'm so sorry. I see you gazing off into the distance, just remembering.
I'm just replaying the shot in my head over and over again, wanting to die.
So, let's move on to. So we got through the defense. Let's move on to two players that are number one. Let's say if you're a bad team in the NBA, two of these players are on bad teams.
Okay.
And you want your number one scorer. This is going to be your top guy on the bad team.
Okay.
For this season, we'll say this season right now.
Just like a floor raiser, right? I want a floor raiser. Okay.
Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter Jr., and Gordon Hayward. Except if you were to put Michael Porter Jr. Just for this year, because let's say Michael Porter Jr. right now is on the Pistons replacing Jeremy. Let's say all three of them are on the Pistons replacing Jeremy Grant. Like, who would you want on the Pistons?
As a floor raiser, I'm going Hayward, Porter, Grant. It's just by connotations.
Okay.
Jeremy, if I'm on a good team, I'm taking Jeremy Grant over any of them, just because Jeremy Grant's defense and he has the same. His offense right now is incredible. But like if I'm a championship team, I would take Jeremy Grant as like a third option, scoring defensive type of guy over any of these guys, just because of that impact he has.
It shows MPJ over him.
If I'm a team that's not competing, I mean, I'll probably take both MPJ and Hayward over them. I'll probably take Hayward one, just because I think Hayward brings the most to a team that doesn't really have anything to play for. Just because he's a great player, but he's not a first option on a winning team. No. Neither is MPJ, but at least I think MPJ could be at some point in his career. Right now, he's a third option, so I don't think I would trust him to be my first option. So I would take Hayward.
Yeah, I'm going to start Hayward just like you, but I'm actually going to bring Jeremy Grant off the bench, and I'm going to cut MPJ just as of right now, because he's shown sparks of being a great player in the league. But to me, Jeremy Grant, like his defensive side, if I'm going to bring a floor raiser, I don't think I think any team led by MPJ would be the worst defensive team in the league. And Jeremy Grant will at least I think he brings some leadership qualities that MPJ just doesn't have yet. That's why I'm putting Gordon Hayward first, because the Charlotte Hornets right now are 6 and 7, and he's the only in him and LaMelo. And I mean, Gordon Hayward's made those couple players on that team better. And so I'll start Gordon Hayward. I'm going to bench Jeremy Grant though for just the defense and mentality he brings over MPJ.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, like I said, if I'm on a competing team, I'm taking Jeremy Grant over any of them though. Even though I have him cutting on this, I'm a Syracuse guy. You know, I love Grant more than just about anybody. I watched this kid play in college. I went to about 20 of his games probably. Huge Jeremy Grant fan. I will always remember the way that he beat Duke in overtime with 10 consecutive points right after Rashid Suleiman did a half-court shot to send it into OT at the Carrier Dome. One of the most iconic moments in college basketball for me. So Grant's earned a place in my heart forever. But yeah, I just don't think he brings the same value to other teams that just aren't winning like Hayward does. As you see, Hayward's leading that team to actual winning games, where Grant's playing well, but the Pistons aren't really seeing much success. Yeah.
Let's stay with kind of, we could consider all three of those guys glue guys on championship contender teams. So let's go to glue guys on arguably championship contending teams right now. Start, bench, cut, glue guys.
Okay.
Draymond Green, Patrick Beverley, and Marcus Smart. I think we're gonna have the same answer because I think we. Okay,
Okay, well, one of them is easy. Beverly is my cut. That's like, to me, that's a no-brainer. That's a
agree. I
no-brainer.
have to start Draymond.
I love the other two guys. That is so tough for me. I'm probably gonna start Marcus Smart and bench Draymond, but it's
as purely a glue guy.
That could change. If you're saying like I need this guy to be like the fourth option or something, or like the fifth starter or something like that.
Both are the
It's
fourth
between
option.
these two. Yeah. I think I'm taking Smart, but it is neck and neck. It's neck and neck.
Okay.
I am I'm a huge Draymond Green fan. I've always said, to me, the basis for people of what basketball or not is if you respect Draymond Green as a player, then you know what you're talking about for basketball. And if you think Draymond sucks, then you don't know basketball at all. So like that's my basis for so with that it sucks to put Green second, but I don't think I've ever been more of a fan of somebody in the playoffs as I was last year of Marcus Smart with the Celtics. And that's a Celtics player who I'm talking about. To me, his energy, I mean, him and Green have the same energy. They have the same I just think they have the same impact on the floor. To me, I'll take just Marcus Smart shooting. That's the only thing to me that gives him the slight edge. He's a better scorer, better shooter. Defensive impact, just mentality, just energy that they bring to the floor. To me, they're the same.
Are you forgetting about Draymond's 37-point game in 2016 Game 7 NBA Finals where we blew the 3-1?
4 years ago. 4 years ago. I don't think current Draymond is doing that. Meanwhile, current Marcus Smart is out here putting up 25-point playoff games back to back.
Yeah. You make a good case for Marcus Smart, but I'm still taking Draymond Green because I think he's one of the best.
You're a Warriors fan.
Yeah. And I think Draymond is one of those players that like any team, Damian Lillard just came out and was like, get me Draymond Green. Like after playing the Warriors twice, every team would you want a Draymond Green type player. And
for sure.
Every team would want Marcus Smart too. So it's really close. It's whether you kind of value the playmaking and the energy kind of Draymond Green brings rather than the scoring. And because I'll probably take Draymond because he's more of he can guard the 5, where I don't know if Marcus Smart can really guard the 5. He can, honestly. If I want any guard
I think he can.
to guard a center, I'll take Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
I like
so
Draymond.
Close. I mean, Smart and Draymond are probably the top 2 guys in the league that if you take them and put them on a championship team, they're getting infinitely better. Like they're probably the 2 best ceiling raisers in the league right now. I'm a huge fan of both. So I can't argue with Draymond being at number 1.
Yeah.
Beverly's not even in the same category.
No, I went to go do the list. I was like, oh, let's do a blue guys one. And they had Beverly at like 2 and Marcus Smart at like 5. And I'm like, all right, you just delete your account. You don't know anything.
No. Yeah. So if Beverly was that good, the Clippers would have beaten the Nuggets last year.
Yeah. God, Patrick Beverly's so overrated. Let's move on to a different aspect that we haven't talked about yet, which is the passing ability, just being a good passer. And, let's throw in, if we're going to talk about passing, and we'll do ball handling and we'll throw in turnovers also, because these are, if you're going to be the ball handler on a team, you're going to have a lot of turnovers. That's if you have the ball in your hands enough. Best playmaker, let's say LaMelo Ball, and I'll say right now too, LaMelo Ball, Russell Westbrook, Luka Doncic.
This one's easy to me. Wait, who is the second one? Westbrook?
Yeah.
I'm taking sorry to LaMelo, but I'm starting Luka, benching Westbrook, cutting LaMelo. And I love LaMelo. He's only played 10 games in the NBA, and he's a great playmaker. He's just not quite seasoned yet. And you're comparing him against 2 of the top 3 playmakers in the league. I think James Harden being the other one. So to me, it's not really even close. I'll take Luka 1 just because
Me too.
like I said, I'm a huge Luka fan. Just watching him play, he always finds the right play. He always creates for his guys, and he's Dallas has been one of the top teams in the West this year, and he's been playing without anyone except KP came back last night, which was good. But
I didn't even know he came back.
Yeah, he came back last night. I don't remember what he did though. I think he got very limited minutes. But
Gotcha.
Luka's been carrying that team with a bunch of role players to winning games and stuff, and that just shows how good of a. So yeah, how much of a good playmaker he is. And then Westbrook. I mean, I have a feeling you're going to cut Westbrook, which I think is ridiculous. That's just anti-Westbrook propaganda. I don't care what you say. Westbrook is still a top 3, top 5 playmaker in the league right now. He is. I mean, he creates for players unlike anyone else other than like probably Harden, Luka, and LeBron do. So I'm taking Westbrook too.
The only reason I'm cutting Westbrook is because I'm saying right now, and he hasn't made any of those Wizards players better. You know, he's always been the floor raiser kind of guy. Thomas Bryant is playing. He's been a better offensive player, but God, he's horrendous defensively. Davis Bertans, I don't think has played a game with him.
Playmaking is an offensive stat.
That is true.
Bryant's better offensively because Westbrook's playing with him.
I've watched probably every single. I think I've actually watched every single Charlotte Hornet game so far this season. Like I've loved watching the Charlotte Hornets, and LaMelo Ball does it. He rarely turns the ball over. If you watch him play, he can just control the game when he's in, and he's not even starting yet. But Terry Rozier has not been this great of a shooter ever in his career. Devontae Graham and him don't fit well together. They should rarely ever be on the court together. That's just coming from a watcher of the game. But Gordon Hayward can lead that offense as well. But from what LaMelo's done as just from the playmaking, not shooting, not defensively, he just controls the game when he's in it. And so far this season, Westbrook's. I mean, he's averaging more assists. He's also getting a lot more rebounds. He probably has, the usage rate of 65% on that team, and Bradley Beal's got another 65% on that team. You give me LaMelo in the starting lineup. I think he will turn the ball over less, and he'll just control the game better than Westbrook is right now, at least.
I'm not disrespecting LaMelo because LaMelo has exceeded expectations, which
already
I didn't think was going to be possible. He has exceeded expectations. He's been great. But you're comparing a guy who's played 10 games in the NBA with a guy who's been a top 3 playmaker and an MVP candidate for 4 years. To me, that's a complete overreaction. I like LaMelo a lot. It's Westbrook. It's Russell Westbrook. I mean, this guy won MVP a couple of years back. He's still a top 5 point guard in the league. Not quite top 3 like he used to be, but he's a great passer. He's a great playmaker. LaMelo's not there yet, in my opinion. To me, I think that's an overreaction from this season.
That's fair. Westbrook has just not looked himself on the Wizards yet, and let's be honest, Luka's going over both these guys by a mile. The way that he's can dominate, but
the thing with Westbrook for me is he honestly hasn't been that bad. I've watched probably the Wizards more than just about everyone because I've watched the Sixers play them twice, and I watched another one of their games the other day. Westbrook's been hurt. He's only played in half the game so far.
Yeah, and he just got out.
I've watched
now.
Yeah, I've watched 3 of them that he's played in, and he hasn't been that bad. Like I know people are pinning the Wizards' failures on him, and I don't think that's the case. I just truly think that they are a horrible defensive team, and that's why they really aren't doing anything. Westbrook's been playing fine. His shots haven't been falling very well, but as a rebounder and as a playmaker, he's just as good as he was a couple of years ago in OKC, at least in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, he is averaging 6 turnovers a game, which is kind of he just looks kind of careless sometimes with the ball, but that's kind of how Westbrook is. I mean, he'll control the game and he'll be careless, but he'll still give you 12 assists, and so that's why.
Yeah. I mean, the Wizards been playing a little bit sloppy so far, I'm not going to lie. Part of that's on Westbrook, but
and
doesn't really have much help. The Wizards aren't great outside of him and Beal, so I'll cut him some slack.
Yeah, especially Davis Bertans. He is god awful. I am such a Davis Bertans hater. I mean, he really thinks he's like Klay Thompson coming off screens and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're 6'10". Just go stand in the paint and play any defense.
I can't tell if you hate Bertans more or less than I hate Horford.
Oh my God, Bertans! You hate Horford because he screwed up your team. But to me, I've watched like maybe like 3 or 4 Wizards games, and I saw Davis Bertans shooting like 32 footers and then flopping when no one's around to like get a foul call, shooting it and bricking them. And I'm like, dude, you just, oh, I'm sorry. It made me so angry to watch just a couple games of his, but yeah, we'll end it there.
Move on.
We'll get a couple
punching
more
your
in
computer.
before we, we'll get a couple more in before we finish up the podcast. Next ones we'll go to even lower tier shooting guards. Let's just keep going down the list of shooting guards because they're all so close. Start bench cut: Seth Curry, Buddy Hield, and Karis LeVert.
I hate you for this. You really threw in Seth Curry with two guys who are clearly better than him, just so I'd have to say cut him. That's low. That's really low. I'm starting Karis, benching Buddy, cutting Curry.
Okay.
Again, no disrespect to Curry. Curry's been amazing this year, and I truly think if he had a higher usage rate, he would be putting up better stats. But he's not yet on the level of the other two guys.
Gotcha.
And I just think LeVert's a more polished offensive player than Buddy. Buddy's the better shooter, but I like LeVert's athleticism and ability to take the ball to the rim better. So pretty simple there.
I'm probably gonna bring Karis off the bench and start Buddy. I think Buddy in a different like team and environment. I don't really like his fit as much in Sacramento right now. I think you put him on a different team and he could show a lot more of his shot creating. I don't think right now he can with players like Halliburton and Fox and even Harrison Barnes who will take the ball from him. I mean, Karis LeVert's shown he can shine off the bench. I like his all around game, but Buddy Hield's 3-point shooting is elite, and I really wish that the Warriors would have traded for him instead of Kelly Oubre because he is just a lights out shooter. I've watched the Kings a couple times just because I want to watch Tyrese Halliburton. And Buddy lights it up from three, and I'm like, dang, things like every team would want this kind of shooter.
Yeah,
and Luke Walton just sucks as a coach and can't use anyone right. And so you get him off that team, and I think I'll probably start Buddy and bring Karis off the bench.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, congrats to Luke Walton now that Brett Brown and Jim Boylan are out of the league. Luke Walton is firmly in first place for worst coach in the league.
Oh my God, he's so bad.
Yeah, I honestly, as much I love Curry, but I think if you put Buddy in the Sixers in that situation, he's doing even better than Curry is.
2022.
Yeah. I mean, and that's Seth shooting 54% from three this year, which is insane in itself.
Just gotta take more time.
Yeah, and he's still shooting like 6-7 a game too, which is incredible to me.
Oh my God, that's crazy. And we're cutting him.
Yeah. That he's a little bit out of his league with these two guys. Karis and Buddy are both fantastic. I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah, so that'll wrap up that one with the shooting guards, and we're not going to talk about any more shooting guards for the rest of this. So don't worry about it. We're done with shooting guards. And so let's move on to we got two more in us. We'll do two more to finish off.
Okay. And then I've got one for you after.
Okay. No, you're good. Let's do some mediocre players. Some interesting young guys that can blossom into stars. Right. Start bench cut for the future and just for your team if you want a starting.
Okay. Yep.
PJ Washington, Cameron Johnson, and Brandon Clark.
Ooh, I like this one. A lot.
It's young players that are all right there, and so I want to hear your opinion.
I'm gonna start Brandon Clark.
Okay.
I like all three of them. I give Clark the slight edge just because of his incredible efficiency with the way he scores the ball. He shot last season. He shot like 62% from the field, which was just amazed me. And he can step back, shoot the three ball. He can score from the inside, and he's a pretty good defender too. I think he's probably been the best player on that roster this season with Ja and Jaren both out. So I'll take Clark. The other two is tough.
Really?
I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I haven't watched Phoenix play that much this year. So most of my basis with Cam Johnson's going off of last season. I'll probably bench Cam and cut PJ, but I think that's a really close one. I think you can go either way. On that. I like PJ a lot. He just, when I've watched the Hornets this year, he hasn't really stood out to me as much as some of the other guys on that roster, like Miles Bridges and LaMelo and Rozier all have. I think he plays a good game and he has a good low post defense. But I like Clark's offensive game a lot more, and I like Cam Johnson shooting more. I think you can always find a place for a guy like Cam Johnson on a team, especially like a stretch four big man who can step outside and hit the three ball.
Yeah.
But I think Johnson, Washington, I think that's very, very close. I put Clark just a step above them.
See, the funny thing is, when I did this, I had a very different opinion from what you had. Actually, I had
Okay.
I'm actually going to cut Cam Johnson. Um,
Okay.
I thought for PJ and Brandon Clark was a lot closer than Cam and PJ was, because I mean, I've watched a lot
Okay.
of Hornets games, and PJ to me, he seems to be a stretch four player. That's what he is. He's
Yeah.
been, I mean, that team's starting center right now is Bismack Biyombo. So they've actually been running PJ a lot at the
Yeah.
5, and he's
Yeah.
been a very, very good center for that team. His low post defense has been a lot better than I think anyone expected it to be. And
Yeah.
I haven't seen the defensive presence from Cam Johnson yet, but Cam Johnson just brings
That's fair.
mediocre offensive game.
That's fair.
And going off of what you
I
said about
definitely.
Brandon Clark, that's kind of how I get my opinion, because Brandon Clark's I
Yeah.
really haven't watched him play, but you said he shoots really well, but
He's so good. He's so talented. I'm telling you, he's going to be a stud someday. I'm a
really.
huge Brandon Clark fan. Yeah.
So I'm
I
gonna
mean, if you've watched PJ Moore, put PJ above him. I'm not going to tell you what to
I'm gonna
do,
start
but
PJ. I really like his
yeah.
game, honestly. It's just the way I've watched it a lot. I'm like with you, I haven't watched a lot of Suns games this year, and so I'm gonna
Mhm.
base it off kind of the bubble and how he played. I don't see Cam Johnson as a great 4, maybe a stretch 4 every once in a while, but he's kind of a 3 guy for me. But he doesn't have the foot speed to be a 3. He's like a Danilo Gallinari kind of player, where I don't know where I'd
Yeah.
put him on defense. Whereas Brandon Clark and PJ Washington both are definite 4s when it comes to the defensive side. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna start PJ. It's very close. I'm gonna bench Brandon Clark, and I'm gonna cut Cam Johnson.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's when I was comparing Cam and PJ,
Mhm.
it's different because PJ is someone. If you told me I could have to build my roster, a guy to build my roster around, I'd rather have PJ because I think
Mhm.
in 5 years, I think he's going to be better. It's
Yep.
just Cam Johnson is the type of guy you could plug into any starting lineup and he'll find success because he is that
Yeah.
archetype of a player that is always successful at stretch 4, 3-and-D kind of guy who he
Mhm.
could find success with any kind of team. And it doesn't matter who you got around him, he's gonna play well. So that's why it's close to me. I'm a big Brandon Clark fan. I just think
I can see.
scoring, and defense. Washington's definitely a better rebounder than him, but I like Clark's offensive game more.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought it'd be a fun one to throw in. Those mediocre players that
Yeah,
don't
I
have a lot of
like that.
recognition. We've talked a
I
lot
don't
about
think I've heard anyone.
guys.
I don't think I've heard anyone talk about Brandon Clark or PJ Washington like in a while. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you did that one.
Yeah. The final one for me, I don't know if you have another one afterwards.
I got one.
But the final one for me is I'm gonna ask you between 4 players now, where I'm gonna do
Okay.
start. I'm gonna do start, bench, third string cut. I
Okay.
guess let's just or
Okay.
we'll just rank them. I don't really care.
Okay.
Top point guards in the NBA
Oh boy.
between Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. And I will say this, all 4 of them playing a 40-minute game in the regular season. That's how we're going to compare it.
That's it.
Yes, a 40 playing 40
Okay.
minutes in the regular actually 40 minutes in the playoffs. We'll make it fun.
Playoffs.
We'll make playoffs.
Okay.
Because I figured I'd do that because with Kyrie going on, you'd probably have to cut Kyrie right now in the season because of, I mean, he might as well retire.
I was just gonna say it's tough for me to put Kyrie ahead of anyone if
Yeah.
you're talking about this. But if I know Kyrie's playing,
Yes.
well, obviously I'm gonna start Curry because he is hands down number one. And I'm gonna cut Lillard.
That might
Time
be
to piss off all the Dame fanboys. I'm gonna bench Luka, third string Kyrie, but I think that's the closest out of all of them for me.
Same thing.
I just think Luka can lead a team better than Kyrie can. If you give Kyrie a second superstar, it's just like I think Kyrie. I mean, it's hard to see because Kyrie has never really succeeded as a first option on a team where these guys have all played pretty much their entire careers as first options. But I mean, Kyrie in the regular season as a first option, both Boston and Brooklyn has been lights out. We've just never really seen it much in the playoffs before. But just given what he's done in Cleveland before and what I've seen from him in Brooklyn this year, I think I'd rather have his clutch scoring, his overall playmaking, everything that Kyrie does. I'd take that over Dame in a playoff game.
Okay.
And then I just think Luka brings overall more to the table as a first option than Kyrie does. So I would take Luka, and then I think to me Curry is self-explanatory.
Yeah. I had the same exact list as you actually.
Okay.
Luka Kyrie was close because Kyrie's kind of proven himself more than Luka has, but God, Luka's so dominant, and we even saw it in the bubble. He can just carry that any team right now to being a top 5 seed, top 5-6 seed. So yeah, give me Steph Curry, best point guard undoubtedly in the NBA. I'll put Luka right under. I'll put Kyrie right there, and I was actually considering putting Dame over Kyrie because of the fact that Dame's been more of the top option on team, and he's had some success. I mean, he made it to the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago, but CJ McCollum's been better, so I'm gonna put Kyrie.
I was about to say Dave's not even the best player on his own team.
Behind Nurkic too, right? And so is now out for like 2 months with another injury. So prayers up to Nurkic, man. He can't get a break.
Yeah, he can't stay healthy. It's so sad to see. I think he's so talented when he's playing.
Nurkic in the bubble was he brought so much energy and just funness to that team.
Yeah,
everywhere. But I was
waiting for Nurkic on one of these.
I do. Yeah, you're right. I didn't do a lot of centers. I didn't give the big men a lot of love. But that's just me, the guard I am. So
I got one for you.
Let's hear it. Oh,
this
no.
is it. My last one. This is it. I just felt like we had to go out on a bang.
Okay.
This is going to be a little biased because you're a Warriors fan, though. Start bench cut. Curry, Durant, Kawhi.
Right now.
This season.
So I'm saying, if I'm having a player lead my team.
Lead your team to the playoffs, the regular season playoffs. You got to beat LeBron's Lakers. Who do you have leading your team out of those 3?
Got to beat LeBron's Lakers. You want me to pick Kawhi so bad?
No, I didn't say that.
I'm starting Steph Curry. I'm benching Kawhi Leonard. I'm cutting Kevin Durant.
What? That is the opposite of what I have.
Dude, are you starting Durant, benching Kawhi, cutting Curry?
Yeah.
You ready? Let me give you a reason why. Kawhi has shown in 2019 he can carry teams.
Yeah.
Curry has shown in 2017 and 2018 he can carry teams.
Here we go.
Kevin Durant has not shown he can carry a team. And I'm not saying he didn't carry the team for the Warriors because him and Curry split it. But
so wait. So the 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder just don't exist.
They lost.
Okay, they lost in 6 games in the finals to the Heat. Okay,
yep.
That's fair.
Steph Curry's been a LeBron James' biggest competitor throughout his career. When it comes,
I disagree. I disagree.
Right
Durant.
now. Oh,
I take Durant. Because I mean, Curry over the last couple of years, it's been Curry, but Durant and LeBron have been going at it since 2010. The Curry LeBron thing didn't become a thing until 2015.
5 straight titles to get against each other. A couple of those.
Durant was there for 2 of them.
Yeah, but could even argue that
it was 4.
One of those MVPs.
Curry has never won a Finals MVP against LeBron in the finals.
Andre Iguodala has not won a Finals MVP. Steph Curry has. Let me get that. Let me make that very.
I don't know. I just think going up against LeBron, to me, I think Durant and Kawhi are both more valuable than Curry this season. Just because I don't think Curry can handle LeBron and AD defensively. And it depends on what you put around him. But I think no matter what, with Durant and Kawhi, both of them can guard LeBron. There's no one that I've seen that can guard LeBron better than Kawhi Leonard, first of all.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. LeBron has shown that if there's one person he struggles against the most, it's Kawhi Leonard.
Yes,
because Kawhi can guard LeBron better than anyone I've ever seen before. And so that's why I'm taking Kawhi over him.
On LeBron James, I'm taking Steph Curry.
I'm taking Durant.
Fair enough.
I'm taking Durant. I guess that's just difference in opinion.
We both have Kawhi in the middle of them.
Yeah.
And so
my logic is Durant to me I think is the clear best player of the three, and so I'm taking Durant one no matter what. And then between Kawhi and Curry, I just think Kawhi matches up better against LeBron and the Lakers than Curry does. But I think they're so close that
dude, those three are the three players I would want to go up against LeBron James. Like,
yeah, oh yeah. You're not beating LeBron if you don't have one of those three on your team.
Exactly.
You need at least one of them.
Maybe I go Curry and Durant because they already beat him. You know?
Hey, Kawhi beat him too.
Yeah, alone. So you had one of the
with
Durant.
Tim Duncan.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hey, all I'm saying is Kawhi has. Oh, never mind. That's not right. I was gonna say Kawhi has the most Finals MVPs of the three of them, but no, he has the same amount as Durant.
Yeah. No, that's so close. That is such a close one.
Yeah.
And that right there's an example of why we are the best sports.
Thanks, Emma.
That's nice of you, but hey, this one was fun. We finally got to talk current NBA, which we haven't done in a couple weeks, and 2 weeks into the NBA, we're just hoping right now that the season keeps going because God, there's been so many different COVID outbreaks, and it's frustrating. I mean, your Sixers have had to play 2-3 games with 7 people. I mean,
all I'm saying is if Adam Silver loved us the way he loves the Celtics, we would be like 9-2 right now, or 10-2 or whatever. But no, the Celtics, Jason Tatum's misses a game. The Celtics get to reschedule, but we're missing half our roster, and we have to play 2 games against Jokic and the Nuggets. I tell you, it all goes back to Adam Silver hating us for the process. He has hated the Sixers for years. It's true. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's not a hot take. It's a true take.
Oh. I was going to say hot take, but yeah, you kind of just overruled that. This was fun. This Star Bench Cut thing. I thought about it. That was kind of an interesting thing to do, and I'm glad we did it.
Good idea.
Continue us to keep talking, or watch us keep talking about current day NBA in the next couple podcasts, if not the rest of the podcasts we got going, because I mean we kind of covered a lot of historics recently, and so maybe we'll do top 10 players or top 10 teams of all time. We'll throw in some fun stuff every once in a while. But thank you to everyone who came and watched the podcast. Thank you. Shout out to my dad and Tank Middleton for commenting a lot. Y'all are the real ones. And Grace and Emma. But no, it was fun, doing the Start Bench Cut, even talking random players at random times. A lot of players that you normally wouldn't talk about if you're going to do a podcast, like the second last one we did. So
I was going to say, who thought Cam Johnson would be a 5-minute topic of conversation today?
Exactly. Hey, we got it down a little shorter to only an hour and around an hour and 40 minutes.
Proud of us.
I know, right? So yeah, thank you, Dine95, for having us as normal. Thank you to Bobby Blackjack as always, and we will catch you guys in the next podcast. MVP, Metnick and Vinci Productions signing off.